Hi, I'm Audrey,
I'm Leah.
and we're doing what advice we would give to younger students as second semester seniors.
Yeah, as it relates to like the college process.
Yes.
Yeah. So I feel like there's like two parts. It's like the actual like college advice, and then there's like managing
The stress that
and
comes
like
with
stuff
it.
like that. I feel like it's easier to talk about like practical things that we wish we would have done differently.
Really, I feel like I can talk about the stress, so I guess this is good.
Mm.
Should we start with stress, or should we start about practical?
I guess practical.
Yeah.
Okay, practically, I wish that I had finished a draft of my Common App essay before senior year started.
Oh.
And I feel like everyone tells you that, and like you're like, oh, okay, but then I just didn't do it.
Yeah, it's much easier to procrastinate than you would think, I
Mhm.
would say. Like, you're like, okay, like, I can just get this over the summer, like, I have so much time, but, like, it takes longer than you would think, I feel like.
And then there are just a bunch of, like, tedious things that you can do over the summer to, like, make you not feel as stressed.
Mm-hmm.
Like, compiling an entire, like, Google Doc of, like, all the supplement questions that you have to write. Just, like, putting the questions down. You don't have to start the supplements. Just, like, knowing, okay, I have to write this many words in total or, like, this many supplements. Like, maybe I could rework some of these. I don't know. I feel like it would be, like, easier to do that ahead of time.
Like, a big thing that I wish I did, I think, was, like, I did a lot of demonstrating interest, which is really good, and that's an advice I'd give, was to do that. But the one thing I regret not doing is I wish I took more sort of specific notes, especially while talking to students, because when you're writing supplements, like, you want to be able to draw on those very specific things that you talked about and reference very specific things, whereas I feel like I was just sort of doing the interest to do the interest sometimes.
Yeah.
So I wish I took a little more, like, notes on things and, like, got more, like, sort of personal connections and personal things to write and talk about in my supplements, I feel like.
This is also about demonstrated interest. Like, I feel like I should have sat down, like, a little earlier in the summer and just looked up every school that demonstrated interest that I was, like, remotely interested in, because some of my, like, top choice schools just don't measure that. And, like, I just didn't even consider that and would sign up for all these, like, stupid webinars because I thought they would help me, and they just, like, literally don't even track that information.
Yeah, that's an advice I'd give, is, like, do tons of demonstrated interest, but, like, when it matters. Like, don't waste your time if they're not going to care that you're, like, following their Instagram and, like, attending all these info sessions where they're just the same information over and over again.
Yeah, and not every school is the same, so just, like, it's so easy to Google.
Know.
I think there's, like, a literal list on the internet somewhere.
Yeah, there's lists for, like, everything, I feel like.
Yeah, definitely. Like, College Confidential.
Yeah.
Is something that
Yeah.
I really came to know.
Yeah,
this
like
year.
a friend.
Yeah, like a friend.
Scary. What other practical advice do you have?
Practical advice. Let me think. Everything that you put into, what's it called? The Common App website. Like, write it on a Google Doc first or a Word doc
I agree.
first.
Don't write directly in.
Even the activities list, like your summary of it. Like, just write it all in a bullet point list on a Google Doc, and, like, maybe have someone look over it, like your college counselor or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, really hard to share information once you've put it on Common App, and then, like, you really can't really see if you, like, typos or anything like that. So just, like...
Yeah. Oh, I feel like another thing is just sort of, like, be open to change. Like, I feel like when I started, there were certain schools that I really liked. And then as I went on, I'd be like, oh, I like this school too. But I'd always sort of compare it to my first one. And I think sometimes you just have to, like, move on. Like, even though my basic sort of standards things that I wanted, like location and size didn't change, like, small things did. Like, at first I was like, maybe I want a city. And then you kind of look into it and you have to be like, okay, actually, this isn't what I think I want. Like, it's okay to change and sort of drop that criteria. Like, I feel like sometimes I didn't want to, like I didn't want to drop a school that I liked in the beginning. Yeah.
Also, like, this is kind of procedural and relates to that. Like, I feel like there's so many prestigious schools with these reputations and whatever, and I feel like we can kind of get bogged down in statistics sometimes. At least that was true for me. So, like, I would start by just, like, sitting down. You can do this mentally or, like, physically as well, and write, like, everything you like about Packer and everything you hate. Like, is it too small, or do you like the sense that there's a community or whatever? Like, and then let those qualities that emerge, like, inform your college process. Not like, oh, this is a really good school and I know someone that went there or whatever. Like,
that's such a good one.
Like, just know the qualities you want, not,
that
like,
makes sense.
an acceptance rate, you know?
No, that's such a good piece of advice. Also, just because, like, like, you spent 4 years at Packer, and, like, college is another, like, it's a higher education, but, like, it's still the same things. Like, you're still learning, you're interacting with teachers and other students. So, like, you should use Packer as a base. Like, it's a good thing to compare to.
Yeah. Or do you go on TikTok and see these schools in Texas and think, like, oh, I wish that was my high school experience.
Exactly.
Because then maybe you want something bigger and, like, less in a city. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, for sure.
Like, I feel like those are things that we kind of think about but don't really, like, consider in the college process. But it's really helpful, I feel like.
Yeah. Technical advice. I might move on to a stress thing.
I think we're, yeah.
But this is what me and Leah were talking about earlier. This is advice that I wish I could give to myself, was that, like, like, I am not the type of person that gets, like, outwardly stressed about things. Like, I just feel like I normally act pretty calm. I'm pretty good at being like, okay, what's done is done. I have this to do. Just, like, being pretty calm. And, like, that's how I felt throughout almost all of the college process. Like, I get stressed, like, a normal amount. But towards the end, it just, like, hit me like a truck.
Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't in the way that I expected. It was, like, the time when I was just waiting to, like, hear back, and, like, all of a sudden I was just be like, my head would hurt, I'd get hungry all the time, and I would just, like, be so, it was just, like, the underlying stress, like, not even always fronting in my head, but, like, it was just there, like,
and it wasn't
constantly.
Even, like, stress of having work to do for
literally,
that school. It was just, like, hearing back.
Literally, that was
and,
the most
like,
stressful thing, I think.
Yeah. And this is also something that Audrey and I talked a lot about when we were waiting to hear back from our ED schools, but, like, do some emotional preparation in case you get, like, rejected or deferred or something. But, like, this is, like, something that I did. I got rejected from my ED school, and I feel like I went into it kind of doing some emotional prep to be like, okay, it's, like, a competitive school. I don't have my hopes that high. But, like, you're gonna get down. You're gonna be thinking about it. Yeah, it's gonna hurt. And, like, that's fine. Just let yourself...
Like, just cry it out and then move on. Like,
yeah.
There's other schools, like... I don't know. I just feel like you can feel sad. Like, it's good to know, like, you might not get in, but also, like, you can let it hurt a little
Yeah, you
bit.
can let it hurt. And then also just, like, when you think about it a lot, like, I think never, like, regret doing something in your college process. I think,
my mom says that all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I feel like if you know that you're a capable student and you get rejected from your ED school or your top choice or whatever, like, know that there are way too many factors, like, that you can't control to be like, oh, I shouldn't have done this, or, like, just stress about things that already happened, you know?
Don't stress about the little things that happened in the past, because, like, you can't change them. And, like, it probably doesn't actually even, like, matter that much. Like, that wasn't the reason that you didn't get in or that you got deferred. It's like, don't let that bog you down.
Yeah. And then something that I think actually, like, stung a little bit about, like, rejection that I didn't think about was I actually feel like I was pretty vulnerable in, like, my Common App and, like, my supplements and stuff like that. And so actually, I guess this isn't, and even if it's not vulnerability, it's like you kind of put everything that you do and that, like, is a part of your identity onto this piece of paper, and it just makes everything feel a little less genuine. Like, every activity that I do now, I'm like,
did I do this for college?
Oh my god,
I didn't even think about it. That's so true. Like, I'll be like, I don't know, I'll reread my essays and I'm like, oh, it sounds so cheesy, but, like, it isn't.
Yeah, like, this is a thing that I enjoy, and it almost, like, kind of takes a little bit of the fun out of it, because then I'm like, this just became a thing on, like, this menu of my
that's so
personhood.
True. Basically, in conclusion, college applications suck.
Dude,
the process
really
is terrible.
Like, I just, like, there's nothing that makes you feel more like a sellout than college and, like, applying to college, because every part of yourself that feels so real and that you care about so deeply becomes a selling point, a talking point.
Yeah, that's so true.
And that's just so, and just like, ugh.
And when you're, like, prepping for interviews and you're like, okay, these are the things that I do, this is why they matter to me, and you're like, wait, like, this feels so wrong.
Yeah, it does.
But, like, those are the things I care about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's not just, like, being proud of something and wanting to talk about it, it's being like,
it connects here, right? And, like, this is why I'm good for your school, and, like, this is how I fit into your community.
Yeah, like, all of the so many parts of the college process are, like, crafting a story out of your life, and, like, life just isn't really a story like that. And so it's just, like, cutting parts out, or
it's like making things that aren't deep feel deeper, making things that are deep feel less deep. And you're like, this feels so weird.
That's so true. That's so true.
But I mean, I feel like that's the thing, is, like, you can think back on it and, like, realize it once you've submitted them, and, like, so nothing feels, I feel like literally when you turn in your first application, like, you do feel so good. Yeah, like, it's so nice to, like, turn it in. It does, when I was very nice.
Turned in my last application as well, it was just like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because the college process sort of, like, it definitely accelerates going into senior year, but, like, it starts early and, like, it builds really slowly. I mean, like, even for me, like, I was thinking about college beginning of my freshman year, not, like, looking into schools or, like, doing SAT
But even
research.
a little bit of, like, activities, being like, oh,
Yeah.
like, what's a good activity to
Or, like,
have?
being like, oh, I need to make sure my grades don't fall off or whatever. And so it kind of slowly builds up, and then when you're done, you're just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like,
I think that's something that's important to keep in mind, is that, like, it doesn't last forever. Like, there is an end point.
yeah.
Like, it will not just keep going. Like, it feels like it will. Like, it feels like
Yeah.
it's literally never going to end. From, like, studying for the SATs, like, that feels like it's never going to end. And then you're taking, like, oh, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, it's, like, that sort of thing where you're like, wait, it's over.
And also, obviously, like, manage your time and, like, plan things out. But I think, for me at least, like, I think I got a little bit lost in the college process, like, more so than I needed to be.
Yeah.
So just, like...
It gets a little... Everyone obsesses over it a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially those weeks when things come out. Like, you might think, like, oh, yeah, like, we're so good about this. But, like, you will. It will be all you can think about.
Yeah.
And it will be all that everyone is talking about.
Yeah.
Like...
Just give yourself space to, like...
Be ready for that.
Be ready for that. And also just, like, you know, think about other things if you can. Like...
Yeah.
But, yeah. Yeah. We haven't even talked about Packers culture yet.
Oh, yeah, we have it. Oh, my God, I literally forgot about
But
that.
that's such a big piece of, like, college.
Yeah, it is, oh my God, that is a really big piece of it. Oh, my God.
I mean, college... Packers, like, a college preparatory school. It's, like, a...
It's what Packer is for.
Yeah. So, like, it's no surprise, really, that Packer kids care about it a lot. But I think sometimes it can be, like, an invasion of privacy.
It's the kind of weird mix where it's like everyone knows it's not acceptable to ask someone, but then again, everyone seems to know where everyone's going.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
Like, it's not. It's most likely where you're going and where you're applying is not going to stay a secret.
Yeah.
So be prepared for that. Like, you might think I'm not telling anyone, but somehow it seems to get out always.
Yeah. But, like, also, I think that means that, like, either be okay with people knowing that
Or
information.
genuinely don't tell anyone.
Or genuinely don't tell anyone. Like, not even, like,
Not your close
5
friends.
friends.
Yeah.
Like, be really, really private. Because if you tell even a small group of people, like, it'll get out.
Yeah, but I feel like only be really private if you know that it's going to affect you. Otherwise, I'd say just, like, be prepared that people are going to know and don't let that affect you.
Yeah.
Like, it depends on the type of person you are. So, like...
Yeah. And I feel like so much of the kind of caring about... Obviously, like, I feel like it's weird to be like, stop caring about what people know. But, like, for me, I think a lot of the stress about that came from, like, there's so much pressure to do well.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think when you realize that, like, people get rejected from schools all the time,
Yeah.
like, the places Packer kids always end up are always great. Not just, like, on an acceptance percentage level, but, like, people feel like they fit into the college that they get into. And so, at a certain point for me, I was just like, okay, I'm fine with people knowing that I didn't get into my ED school.
Same.
I'm fine with people knowing that I, like, did whatever, because I think in the end it'll work out. And I'm not even done with the college process. I haven't heard back from, like...
No, same. Yeah, but I feel like I've accepted much more about it
Same.
at this point in time. I mean, also, we are at the point where, like, we're not turning in anything, so it makes it a little easier to accept it. But, yeah. What other Packer culture things are there?
Oh, this is, like, a thing that I didn't expect. Like, I obviously knew that this would happen, but I didn't expect it. Like, college process, your biggest competitors become your classmates and your closest friends.
It is that is stressful.
And, like, it never really, like,
You start, like, comparing yourself to people.
Yeah.
Like, even subconsciously, you'll be like, oh, like, I wonder if their grades are higher than me. Like, I wonder if they got a high SAT score. Like, even if it's, like, you know you shouldn't do that, like, you kind of just can't help but do it.
Yeah. And it either becomes really toxic in that you're like, I deserve something more than these other people, or it becomes really, really, like, you just get down on yourself because you're like, oh, they do so much more than me, like, they deserve it more than me. It's like, there's too much randomness in the college process for anyone to deserve anything over anyone, really, and for anyone to be able to predict anything over anyone. So, like, I mean, again, I can't really be like, don't fixate on those things, because, like...
Just, I guess, like, be aware of what you're doing, of, like, or that it's happening, maybe.
Yeah.
Would be my advice, because, like, you can't not do that. Like, everyone does it to some extent. Like, you're gonna compare yourself to other people, and, like, it's gonna be bad in some way.
Yeah.
But just realizing, like, wait, like, there's so many factors that go into it, and, like, I'm gonna end up somewhere, and I'm gonna end up happy.
Yeah, just, like, be nice to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, so much of the college process, I think, like, again, like, this is another thing that I didn't realize until I turned in my last application, but, like, my, like, mental health just deteriorated in a way that I, like,
never happened to me before. Like,
yeah.
Like, ever.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't even realize it. Like, I was like, why am I feeling this way? And someone was like, it's probably stress. And
yeah.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It is stress.
Yeah, it was stress, and then just, like,
crazy.
kind of, like, the like, there's something, I don't know, like, the things not feeling genuine is a part of it, and then there's also just, like, a kind of self-worth issue that comes with the college process.
You just start thinking, like, maybe I don't deserve it, like, I didn't get it, so, like, something must be wrong. Like, I obviously didn't do enough, or I didn't, like, do this, or I didn't do that.
Yeah.
It's just, like, it's not it.
It's not it. Yeah. Yeah. So just, like, be really nice to yourself. Talk to your friends about it if they're open to, like...
I think talking to my friends helped me so much.
Yeah. Because we were kind of a guinea pig grade, and that we were the first to apply to college during COVID.
Yeah.
And I just never knew that anyone else was going through what I was going through, and literally everyone was.
Everyone was, yeah.
Like, these feelings, I think if I asked, like, the senior grade how many people felt this way, I feel like all of them would be like, yeah, at some point I did.
Yeah, I agree. Also, just, like, even talking to people I'm not that close with, like we were saying before about how, like, people are gonna find out, like, it's kind of nice to talk to that person that, like, you're not that close with, but you can, like, bond over, like, not getting into a school or something, and it's like, oh, like, even, like, random people or people who I, like, don't know that well, like, this happens to literally everyone, and, like, everyone feels the same way, and you can kind of, like, joke about it, and it's just kind of, like, nice to get to that point. Yeah,
people genuinely get rejected and deferred from colleges all the time.
It's so
all
common.
the time.
But, like, people also end up happy, like, despite, like, how, like, many people get deferred and rejected, so many people, like, it works out. Like, you're applying to these schools because you like them.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what everyone says. It's like, when you get rejected, you, like, don't think about, like, oh, like I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. Be like, I didn't get in because it wasn't a good match for me. Like, it wasn't meant to happen. Like, that's what I feel like a lot of people say. Is like, there's a reason, and it's not because you're dumb. It's just because it wasn't the right place for you to be. Yeah.
And I feel like there's, like, this weird, like, trust the process vibe that you get. And I feel like, don't trust the process because it's, like, equitable in any way. But trust...
It's not.
Because it's
not
really
equitable.
not in
terrible.
any way. Like, on a class level, on a race level.
It's just not.
But, like, trust the process in the sense that, like, there are so many good schools out there with great people going to them, and they're so much bigger than Packer. Like, I think most places that you go, you'll find people there, you'll find a thing there that you like, and so in that way, it's like, there's no one fit. There's no, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Like, there's so many good things about so many places.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I have so much more. I know we're gonna end this. I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, I should have said this. But should we do a summary? What our main things are?
Yeah, I think for me, like, the main thing that I wish I could have known is that just, like, is like probably the mental health part of just, like, it's really hard and it feels really lonely. Like, I don't think that, and it wasn't just because of COVID, because I felt, like, connected to my friends in a way, but, like, the college process, I think, really exacerbates feelings of loneliness. So, like, reach out to people and just be really nice to yourself and really nice to other people, because
it's hard.
It's really hard. Everyone's going through, like, a really hard process. Even, just be nice to yourself. That's all.
I agree. I feel like I'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening. That's our advice. Goodbye.
Bye.